You know the phrase, final 24 hours. What crosses your mind? Last meal, last words. Some quiet cell with concrete walls, maybe a priest. But when 54 years collapse into one sunrise, and those 54 years include 110,000 deported Jews, 759 dead resistance fighters at the prison you built, and 263 bodies shot in reprisal for your own blood. When those hours tick away in the same Scheveningen dunes where you signed the execution orders, the mathematics get cold. March 24, 1949. Hans Albin Rauter, Austrian Nazi, SS Obergruppenführer, highest-ranking SS officer in the occupied Netherlands, from May 1940 to May 1945. 4 years of systematic terror, 1 day left. How does a man who built the machinery of death spend the hours before it takes him? What runs through his head when the walls he turned into a death row now hold him? The clock is running. February 4, 1895, Klagenfurt, Austria, second son of 7 children. Father Joseph was chief forester, wealthy, intensely pro-German. Mother Johanna Antonia Lonkarich Sekulik, born June 28, 1874 in Celse near St. Veit am Flam. She died March 3 des Jahres, 1944 in Vienna. 7 siblings. Leo Khadij, Leo Jonas Anton, born 1891, lived in France under pseudonym Raoul Leor, died 1968. Huber Jakob, born 1892, died 1964. Joseph Franz, born 1893, died same year. Adolphine Helliot, born 1897, died 1978. Heliodor, born 1900, died 1980. Joseph, born 1902, died 1982. Johanna Franziska, born 1902, died 1983. Frederica Juliana, born 1908, died 1999. Family structure, middle class, religious background, Catholic. Political orientation, German nationalist from childhood. The boy graduates high school in 1912, Graz University of Technology. Engineering, 10 semesters of technical study, wants to become structural engineer. Then, August 1914 and World War I tears through the plan. He drops out, volunteers for the Austro-Hungarian Army, Gebirgsschützen Regiment, mountain troops, combat in Alps, Oberleutnant by 1919, discharged after 4 years service. Fencing leaves him with a dueling scar carved across his face, the Bubenstreife, badge of courage and masculinity in that world, social marker among Germanic fraternity culture. He fights in the Kärntner Freiheitskampf in 1919, defending Carinthia against Yugoslav forces. Then Freikorps Oberland in Oberschlesien May through July 1921, fighting Polish forces in Upper Silesia, 1.91 meters tall, war decorations stack up, Austrian Military Merit Cross, 3rd class with war decoration, silver medal for bravery, wound medal. Karl Troop Cross. The violence shaped him, the defeat enraged him. Germany lost, Austria, Hungary dissolved, Treaty of Versailles imposed, Treaty of Saint-Germain carved up Austria. The world he knew collapsed, the resentment calcified. If you value documented war crimes, history, and factual accounts of justice like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual. Using sources from the Traces of War archive published January 2025, which maintains comprehensive documentation of Nazi occupation personnel, including trial transcripts and execution records. And from the Anne Frank House historical timeline published June 2025 DARS, which archives verified court proceedings and deportation data. Now back to the information. August 1926, Munich. Rauter meets Adolf Hitler. November 1931, he joins the Nazi cause in Austria. The Austrian government bans the party. July 1933, Rauter flees to Germany. He wanted SA, but didn't pass selection. Second choice, SS. November 1933, he joins Sturmabteilung. Assigned to SA Obergruppe 11. Confirmed SA Obersturmbannführer November 19, 34. February 27, 1935. Transfer approved. SS number 2, 6, 295, 8. Rank SS Oberführer granted immediately. German citizenship, May 7, Austers. 1935. Pre-war SS assessments use words like unshakable National Socialist conviction, combatant nature, ascetic demeanor, no inclinations to excess, model SS man, planning illegal Nazi activities across the Austrian border. The machinery recognizes its own. April to June 1936. SS main office posting, June 1936 to November 1938. Staff of Reichsfuhrer, SS Heinrich Himmler himself, November 1938 to June 1940. Chief of Staff, SS Oberabschnitt, Südost in Breslau. October 27, 1938, Reichstag deputy for the newly renamed Ostmark. The apparatus promotes him. Himmler trusts him. May 1940, Germany invades the Netherlands. 10 days later, the Dutch surrender. Arthur Seyss Inquart, appointed Reichskommissar for occupied Netherlands. He needs an enforcer. Himmler sends Rauter, May 1940. Rauter gets 2 titles: Generalkommissar für das Sicherheitswesen, General Commissioner for Security, and höherer SS und Polizeiführer, higher SS and police leader. The highest-ranking SS officer in occupied Netherlands. He reports directly to Himmler and to Seyss Inquart. 2 chains of command, total authority over police and SS operations, security apparatus, deportations, reprisals, executions. Everything flows through him. The Dutch would learn to fear the name. 110,000 Jews deported to concentration camps under his watch. 6,000 survived. Deportation machinery organized through Westerbork Transit Camp, Polizeiliches Durchgangslager Westerbork. Trains leave weekly. Tuesday mornings, Destination Auschwitz, Destination Sobibor, Destination Bergen-Belsen, Destination Theresienstadt. The administration meticulous. Rauter coordinates with Adolf Eichmann's office. Reichssicherheitshauptamt, Amt FOB 4, Jewish Affairs and Evacuation. The bureaucracy of genocide. Forms filled, lists compiled, railway schedules coordinated, each deportation documented, names, ages, transport numbers, arrival dates. The files survive the war. The evidence preserved. 300,000 Dutch forced laborers sent to Germany. 30,000 of those died. Arbeitseinsatz policy. German war industry needs workers. Dutchmen rounded up, sent to factories, sent to farms, sent to construction sites. The quotas enforced. The resistance hunted. The escapees shot. Summer 1942. Rauter consults with Seyss Inquart about building new concentration camp. Westerbork proving inadequate. Amersfoort too small. Capacity issues. Solution: build SS concentration camp inside Netherlands. Only one ever built outside German Reich borders. Concentrationslager Herzogenbusch. Dutch call it Kamp Voet, after nearby municipality. Construction begins May 1942. Design modeled on German concentration camps. 36 living barracks, 23 working barracks, double barbed wire fence, watchtowers every 160 feet around perimeter. SS quarters outside camp. December 1942. Himmler orders camp, designated official concentration camp, under direct supervision of SS Wirtschaftsverwaltungshauptamt in Berlin, SS Business Administration Main Office. Oswald Pohl heads it. Rauter, responsible for daily supervision. Dienstaufsicht Authority. Camp formally established January 5, Donnerspars, 1943. First prisoners arrive January 13 and 16, 1943. 250 men from Amersfoort. Then 2,000 more 3 days later. They finish constructing the camp. Forced labor building their own prison. Camp divided into sections. Judendurchgangslager, Jewish transit camp, Schutzhaftlager, protective custody camp for political prisoners, Frauenlager, women's camp, Geisellager, hostage camp, separate areas, different conditions, all brutal. 31,000 people detained at vote between January 43 and September 44. 749 died in camp from hunger, disease, abuse. 329 executed at firing range just outside campgrounds. Executions between July and September 1944 as Allies approached. Jews, political prisoners, resistance fighters, gypsies, Jehovah's Witnesses, homosexuals, homeless people, black market traders, criminals, hostages, 36 different nationalities represented. Their names documented, their stories recorded, their graves marked. First, Commandant Karl Walter Chmielewski. Previously, Sachsenhausen, conspicuously rude behavior. Sacked, October 1943 for misconduct. Sentenced by SS Court Berlin to 15 years imprisonment. Corruption charges, abuse beyond accepted SS standards. Replacement, Adam Grunewald. Previously Dachau and Sachsenhausen. Establishes Strafkompanie Punishment Company. Beatings increase, January 15 to 16, 1944. Bunker drama, bunker tragedy. 74 women prisoners locked in cell measuring less than 100 square feet. No ventilation, punishment for protest. 14 hours locked inside. 10 women dead by morning, suffocation. Grunewald arrested. SS court sentences him 3.5 years imprisonment. Hans Hüdig takes command February 1944. Previously, Nutzweiler, less cruel than predecessors, still responsible for 329 executions, July through September 44, mass killings as camp evacuated, September 4 to 5, 1944. Women transferred to Ravensbrück, men transferred to Sachsenhausen, Allies advancing, camp must be emptied. October to 26, 1944, Allied forces liberate Wout, Scottish troops, Queen's Own Cameron Highlanders, 5th Battalion, fight through rearguard SS defense. 500 to 600 prisoners still alive. Scheduled for execution that afternoon. Lives saved by arrival. 500 bodies found in pile near gates. Executed that morning before liberation. The timing, hours, minutes. The difference between life and death. Rauter visited Camp Vogt February 3, 1944. Brought Heinrich Himmler for a personal tour. Showed him the model camp. Musterbetrieb der SS. Model operation of the SS. Pride in efficiency. Pride in organization. Pride in brutality systematized. Himmler impressed. Rauter pleased. The camp functioned as designed. Transit point for Jews. Punishment center for resistance. Labor exploitation for war economy. 3 purposes. 1 administration. His administration. February 25 to 26, 1941. Amsterdam. Dutch Communist Party organizes a general strike protesting the roundup of 427 young Jewish men. Massive public resistance, first of its kind against German occupation. Rauter's response. Armed SS and German troops open fire. 9 dead on February 26. State of emergency declared. Summary executions authorized. The strike crushed in 2 days. The 427 Jews sent to Mauthausen. By fall, 1941, all dead except 1. Rauter's first blood on Dutch soil. The ratio gets established. 1 German killed equals 10 Dutch executed. 1 Dutch collaborator killed equals 3 Dutch executed. March 1942, he informs Dutch Secretary General Karel Fredericks that Dutch Jews no longer fall under Dutch civil authority. No interventions tolerated. The deportation machinery starts rolling. Kamp Amersfoort, Polizeiliches Durchgangslager, police transit camp, actually concentration camp, 35,000 people detained, 650 dead, Dutch and Russian prisoners. Conditions brutal. Rauter's SS manage it. Another piece of infrastructure, another tool of repression, Scheveningen prison, special block, 28,000 detained over 4 years. Political prisoners, resistance workers, indefinite detention standard, 738 men and 21 women died. Torture during interrogation, summary executions, Walsdorfer Flakte execution field adjacent to prison, 215 resistance fighters shot there during occupation, 1 body at a time. Small groups, mass executions. The dunes absorbed them all. His orders, his signatures. His responsibility, the reprisal system codified. Mathematics of terror. 1 dead German equals 10 dead Dutch. 1 dead Dutch collaborator equals 3 dead Dutch. Established early. Enforced consistently. Numbers escalate as resistance increases. 1944 sees ratios multiply. Attacks on Germans increase. Reprisals become massive. Putten raid October 1st to 2nd, 1944. Dutch resistance attacks German troops near village of Putten. German response, destroy part of town, shoot 7 people, deport entire male population. 602 men sent to concentration camps, most subjected to forced labor. 48 out of 552 survive camps. Village decimated, collective punishment. Rauter coordinates response, his policy, his enforcement, Operation Silvertan. Codename, Silver Fur. Series of executions. September the 1943 to September 1944. Death squad composed of Dutch SS members and Dutch veterans of Eastern Front. After Hitler approves Anton Mussert as Leider van het Nederlandse Volk in December 1942, Shadow Cabinet formed, Gemachtigden van den Leider. Deputies advise Seyss Inquart from February 1st, 1943, February 4, 1943. Retired General Hendrik Seifert assassinated, head of Dutch SS volunteer group. Rauter's immediate response. Order murder of 50 Dutch hostages. Series of raids on Dutch universities. Massive retaliation. Over 54 Dutchmen murdered or severely wounded within 1 year. Meppel. Staphorst. Autumn 1943. First killings. The death squad operates. Martin Kuyper member. Sander Borgers member. Klaas Karel Faber member. Peter Johan Faber, his brother member. Heinrich Boer member. Willy Lagus member. Lambertus van Gogh member. Most notorious Dutch war criminals. Post-war, some executed. Some escaped. Some died in hiding. Kuyper executed 1948. Peter Faber executed 1948. Rauter executed 1949. Henk Feldmeier killed January 22, 1945. Car strafed by Allied aircraft. Commander dead before accounting. Others flee. Borgers dies in Germany 1985. Klaus Faber lives until May 24, 2012 in Ingolstadt, never extradited. Van Gogh flees Spain. Extradited Netherlands 1978. Bohr lives decades in Germany. Found fit for trial 2009. The occupation infrastructure complete. Deportation machinery, transit camps, concentration camps, execution grounds, reprisal system, death squads, forced labor quotas, prison blocks, all coordinated, all documented, all bearing his authority. The chain of command clear. Himmler at top. Rauter executes policy. Subordinates carry out orders. The bureaucracy functions. The killing industrialized. Night of March 6 to 7, 1945. Oosterhoeve, hamlet between Arnhem and Apeldoorn, Veluwe region. 6 Dutch resistance fighters set up an ambush. Their target, German truck carrying food for Luftwaffe. They need that food. Famine conditions grip occupied Netherlands. They're dressed in German uniforms for the intercept. Remote location chosen deliberately. They hear a vehicle approaching. Come out onto the road. Not a truck. Gray-green BMW passenger car. 3 occupants. The resistance realizes the mistake. Gunfight erupts. Driver dead. SS officer dead. Third man Plea's dead. Resistance fighters flee into darkness thinking all 3 killed. Hours later, German patrol finds the damaged BMW. Third man still alive. Severely wounded but conscious. They transport him to St. Joseph Stichting Hospital on Apeldoorn outskirts. Blood transfusions. Surgery. The wounded man is Hans Albin Rauter. March 17, 1945. SS Brigade Führer Karl Eberhard Schöngarth takes over Rauter's duties. Rauter, conscious in hospital bed, issues orders. Find 300 Todeskandidaten, death candidates. Political prisoners already sentenced for resistance activities. Make the reprisal immediate. Make it visible. March 8, 1945. 53 prisoners shot in Amsterdam. 6 shot at Fort de Bilt in Utrecht, plus 11 others. 27 plus 11 shot at Walsdorfervlakte. 49 shot outside Dorstingslager Amersfoort. Largest group. Oosterhoeve itself. 117 men brought in trailers, 20 at a time. Firing squad of 50 Germans. 5 minutes between groups. Bodies left beside the main road. Total dead 263. The resistance had wanted a truck of meat. They got the SS leader and 263 corpses, single largest mass execution in Netherlands during the entire war. Rauter recovered in that hospital knowing what he'd ordered. The number satisfied him. May 11, 1945. British troops find Rauter in a German hospital at Outen. Still recovering from wounds, arrested immediately. February 6, 1946. British hand him to Dutch government. He's remanded to Scheveningen prison, same building where he created the political prisoner block. Same cells where resistance fighters waited before walking to Walsdorfervlakte. Same walls, different direction. February to October 1946 in Scheveningen. November and December in Rotterdam. Transferred between Bureau Nationale Veiligheid and Bureau Opsporing Oorlogsmisdaden. December 1946, handed to public prosecutor at Bijzonder Gerechtshof in The Hague. Special court established to try war criminals and collaborators. First months of 1947, Arnhem prison. Giving depositions in the case against Wehrmacht Commander Friedrich Christiansen. Christiansen sentenced to 12 years. Released 1951. Then back to Scheveningen and Rotterdam for his own trial. February 5, 1947. Lawyer K. van Rijkenvoorzel assigned after previous defender released after 2 weeks. 1 year to prepare. The prosecutor, J. Zeiger, nationally known, prosecuted Anton Mussert, NSB leader, sentenced to death and executed May 7, 1946. Prosecuted Max Blockseil, Nazi propagandist, sentenced to death and executed. Zeiger knew how to build death penalty cases. The trial date set. April 1st, 1948. Presiding judge, Judicial, Mr. P. G. M. van Meeuwen, Bijzonder Gerechtshof in The Hague. Film cameras record the proceedings. Rauter sits in gray suit. The charges read out. Responsibility for deportation of 110,000 Dutch Jews. Responsibility for repression of resistance. Responsibility for forced labor deportations. Responsibility for summary executions and reprisal killings. Responsibility for Operation Silbertanne death squad killings. Responsibility for Oosterhoeve massacre. Responsibility for political prisoner deaths at Scheveningen. The evidence, German documents, deportation train records, execution orders bearing his signature, testimony from survivors, testimony from Dutch officials, testimony from former SS subordinates, 4 weeks of proceedings, Rauter's defense, he denies war crimes, claims he didn't know Jews would be killed in camps, claims he followed military necessity, claims international law permitted hostage executions, claims orders came from above. The court reviews the evidence. The math is brutal. 110,000 deported, 104,000 dead, 759 dead at his prison and execution field, 263 dead at Woestehove, 300,000 forced laborers. The numbers don't require interpretation. May 4, 1948, verdict delivered, guilty on all charges, crimes against humanity, war crimes, sentence, death by firing squad. The court's reasoning: he was the direct instrument of Nazi terror policy in Netherlands. He supervised deportations knowing their purpose. He instituted a reprisal system exceeding any military justification. He personally ordered mass executions. He built the apparatus of oppression and operated it with bureaucratic efficiency. His rank and authority made him criminally responsible. No superior order's defense accepted. The personification of occupation brutality. May 12, 1948. Rauter appeals to Court of Cassation. Bijzondere Raad van Cassatie. October 20 and 22, 1948. Appeal heard in Hoge Raad Building, Supreme Court. January 12, 1949. Appeal denied. Death sentence confirmed. His legal advisor files petition for revision. Denied March 1949. Files petitions for clemency. Denied by Koninklijk Besluit Royal Order. Every legal avenue exhausted. Nothing left but the execution date. March 24, 1949. Thursday morning. Scheveningen prison. Rauter wakes in his cell for the last time. 54 years and 48 days old. The same building where 28,000 prisoners were detained under his authority. The same complex connected to Walsdorfer Vlakte where 215 resistance fighters were shot on his orders. Now the machinery turns around. The GUI and Eemlander newspaper reports details. He kneels in his cell, says a short prayer, Catholic faith maintained to the end. No priest recorded visiting, no chaplain documented. The prayer private. Then he stands. Prison officials enter. Time to move. According to documented accounts, he's granted a privilege. He walks without handcuffs to the execution site. He gives his word he won't attempt escape. 54 years old, former SS Obergruppenführer, former highest-ranking Nazi in Netherlands, walking through prison corridors toward the dunes. The route is short. Scheveningen prison sits near the coast. Walsdorfer Vlakte lies in Mayendel Dune area immediately adjacent. The same path 215 resistance members walked. The same clearing where he stood overseeing executions, where Ernst Kahn, Jewish ice cream parlor owner whose arrest triggered the February strike, was shot, where 38 resistance members were killed March 8, 1945 in reprisal for the attack he survived. The same sand, the same sea wind, the firing squad waits, Dutch soldiers. The condemned man approaches. March 25, 1949. Early morning. The dunes are cold. He reaches the execution ground. Bronze crosses mark the site. 4 wooden crosses replaced by bronze replicas the year before. One cross stands where many mass executions were carried out. Another commemorates Woestehove reprisals. Small wall added in 1949 bears text 1940 to 1945. The dates of occupation. The dates of his power. Firing squad assembled. Protocol requires all shooters fire simultaneously. No single lethal shot identified. Distributed responsibility. Standard military execution procedure. Rauter stands before them. They prepare to blindfold him. Historical records from WWII, 2 gravestone published in 2025, document what happens next. He throws off the blindfold, refuses it, then he does something that stuns the squad. He gives the command himself. Fire. He shouts the order that kills him. The firing squad commander is supposed to give that command. Rauter preempts him. The squad's so stunned they carry out the order immediately. Rifles crack across the dunes. He drops. The former SS general who ordered hundreds of executions dies giving his own execution order. One final act of control. March 25, 1949. Time recorded as early morning. Exact hour not documented in public records. Medical officer approaches. Examination takes approximately 1 minute. Death confirmed. Body handled according to protocol. The location of his burial, state secret. His name appears on family grave at cemetery in Graz, Austria, Triester Street, 164. The actual burial site never disclosed. 7 Dutch collaborators and war criminals executed at Walsdorfer Vlakte after the war. Anton Mussert on May 7, 1946. All buried in graves at the Hague General Cemetery. Locations classified. State secret protocol prevents graves becoming Nazi pilgrimage sites. Rauter's bones lie somewhere in Netherlands soil. The coordinates locked in government archives. The trial had been filmed. The footage survives. Gray-suited man in courtroom. Judges reading charges. Prosecution presenting deportation evidence. Flashback footage of Jews being loaded into railway cars. German guards standing watch. Doors closing. Trains departing. The industrial machinery of genocide captured on film and played in the courtroom. His face watching. 4 weeks of that. 4 weeks of documented facts. Then the verdict. Then 7 months of legal procedures. Then the dawn at Scheveningen. Between May 1940 and May 1945, Rauter implemented Heinrich Himmler's directives with mechanical precision. The special political prisoner block at Scheveningen, the deportation coordination, the reprisal mathematics, 10-1, 3-1. The ratios established and enforced. Operation Silvertan death squads killing Dutch resistance. The Putten raid. October 1st to 2nd, 1944. Over 600 men deported to camps in retaliation for resistance activity. Most died. The Hunger Winter, 1944 to 45. German occupation cuts food and fuel to Western Netherlands. 4.5 million people affected. Response to railway strike ordered by Dutch government in exile. Rauter coordinates the blockade. 18,000 Dutch die of starvation. His signature on policy documents. His authority implementing collective punishment. The trial proceedings documented in International Criminal Tribunal archives. And law reports note his defense strategy. He presents himself to family as man of virtue. Letters from prison cell to his wife admitting his deeds with curious exception. Never mentions Holocaust role. Frames hostage executions as within international law boundaries. Claims military necessity. Claims orders from superiors. Claims ignorance of final destination for deportees. Professor Thomas Weber at University of Aberdeen published Research March 2024 on Rauter's prison letters. Quote from one letter, "I don't believe I will be the accused at the end of the trial." End quote. The delusion or calculation that he could argue his way clear. Another quote. "The measures I took during the occupation, including taking hostages and executing resistance fighters, remained well within the limits of what international law allows me to do." End quote. The court disagreed. Unanimously. His trial was considered one of two most important Dutch Nazi trials. The other, Anton Mussert, both prosecuted by Zaire, both resulted in death sentences, both executed at Walsdorfer Vlakte. The special court, Bijzonder Gerechtshof, convicted 14,000 collaborators and war criminals total, 145 sentenced to death, 43 death sentences carried out. Last execution in Netherlands, March 1952, Arthur Albrecht, SD chief who ordered Dokkum massacre. Shot at Walsdorfer Vlakte. Netherlands abolished death penalty for criminal law in 1870. Reinstated only for war crimes, 1945 to 52. Then abolished permanently. Constitutional prohibition added 1983. All references removed from Dutch law 1991. Rauter among the 43. Number uncertain exactly where in that count. But the Walsdorfer Vlakte Memorial lists the resistance dead, 250 to 280 members killed by Germans during war. The 7 collaborators buried in unmarked graves. The mathematics of justice incomplete but documented. The night before his execution details remain sparse in accessible records. No documented last meal, no recorded final statement beyond the prayer in his cell, no visitors logged. www. Gravestone archive notes he walked without handcuffs, gave his word not to escape, that word honored. At age 54, the former mountain troop soldier, the former SA member rejected for SS's first choice, the former model SS man who rose to Obergruppenführer, the man who met Hitler in Munich in 1926, who fled Austria in 33 wars, who spent 5 years building the occupation security apparatus, who signed the orders sending 110,000 people to death camps, who instituted mathematical reprisal system, who built the political prisoner block where 759 died, who survived Westerhove ambush and ordered 263 shot in response. That man walks to the dunes. March 25, 1949, dawn breaks over the North Sea. The Walsdorfer Vlakte, clearing waits. Same sand that absorbed the blood of Ernst Kahn, same dunes that witnessed 215 executions Rauter authorized. Same wind off the sea. He stands before the firing squad. They move to secure the blindfold. He throws it off. The moment preserved in historical record. He doesn't wait for the commander. He shouts, "Fire." The split second of hesitation, then the trained response. The rifles discharge. The body falls. The medical officer confirms. March 25, 1949, early morning. Hans Albin Rauter, born February 4, 1895, died by firing squad, age 54. Executed for crimes against humanity and war crimes. 110,000 Jews deported, 104,000 dead, 6,000 survivors. 759 dead at Scheveningen and Walsdorfer Vlakte under his direct authority. 263 killed in Westerhove reprisal he ordered from hospital bed, 300,000 forced laborers, countless other victims of Operation Silbertan, Puttenraid am Hobe, hunger winter policies, February strike suppression, daily terror of occupation, the final 24 hours, waking in Scheveningen cell, knowing the date, knowing the time is fixed, morning routine, prayer in cell, no elaborate ceremony recorded, prison officials arrive, the walk to execution ground, no handcuffs, word of honor maintained, the short distance to the dunes, the squad waiting, the blindfold refused, the command he gives himself, the volley, the fall, the confirmation, the secret burial, the name on a gravestone in Graz pointing to a body that lies elsewhere, state secret maintained, the film footage of his trial preserved, the documentary record extensive, trial transcripts, deportation records, execution orders, survivor testimony, the mathematics don't lie. 110,000 deported, 6,000 returned. That's a 94.5% death rate. The difference between those numbers, the measure of his crimes, April 1st, 1948 to May 1948, 4 weeks of trial, evidence presented. Prosecution built case on documents Rauter himself signed. German bureaucracy kept records, meticulous records, train schedules, prisoner counts, execution orders, deportation lists, everything documented, everything filed, everything bearing official stamps and signatures. His signature, his authority, his chain of command. The defense argued superior orders, court rejected it. The defense argued military necessity, court rejected it. The defense argued ignorance of ultimate fate, court examined evidence. Letters exist, reports exist. He knew. He coordinated. He implemented. He authorized. Guilty verdict, unanimous. Death sentence, unanimous. The 7-month wait, appeals filed and denied. Clemency petitions filed and denied. Legal procedures exhausted. The date set, March 24, 1949. Last full day of life. The cell in Scheveningen, the same complex he administered. The political prisoner block he designed, cell 601. The death row section, D-gang middle cell row, where condemned prisoners spent final days, where resistance fighters carved names into walls, where Daniel de Block van Scheltinga, Nazi collaborator, scratched calendar marking days until his trial, marked prosecutors' demand for death penalty September 11, 1945. That cell preserved as monument. Rauter's specific cell location not documented in accessible records. But somewhere in that building, somewhere in the complex he controlled, now controlled by others, the roles reversed, the machinery turned, the same Walsdorfer Vlakte, the same dunes, the same clearing, different target. The night passes, morning comes, March 25, 1949, Friday. The officials arrive, time, the walk begins, through corridors, past cells, past the D-gang death row, past cell 601 where others waited, past the administrative offices, past the interrogation rooms, past the processing areas, out of the building, toward the dunes, the distance measured in hundreds of meters. The Walsdorfer Vlakte is not far. The prison specifically located near the execution ground. German efficiency during occupation, Dutch efficiency in post-war trials, the same infrastructure, the same geography, the same brutal mathematics. He walks. 54 years compressing into minutes. The engineering student who never finished his degree, the mountain troop Oberleutnant, the Freikorps fighter, the early Nazi adopter, the SS man who climbed ranks, the Reichstag deputy, the higher SS and police leader, the architect of Dutch occupation terror, the survivor of Westerhove ambush, the prisoner, the convicted war criminal, the condemned man, all of it narrowing to this walk, these final meters, this squad, these rifles, this dawn. The clearing opens ahead, bronze crosses visible, 4 replicas of wooden crosses, memorial to mass executions, memorial to Westerhove victims, wall with dates 1940 to 1945, the years of his power, the years of his crimes. He reaches the position. The squad ready? The officer approaches with blindfold. Standard protocol. Condemned prisoners blindfolded. Rauter's hands free, no handcuffs. Word of honor. He reaches up, throws off the blindfold, won't wear it, won't die blind. Then the voice. His voice. Fire. Command given. Squad trained to obey commands. They fire. The rifles crack simultaneously. The body drops. The echo rolls across the dunes toward the sea. The medical officer moves forward. Brief examination. Death confirmed. Time of death. Early morning, March 25, 1949. Age, 54 years, 49 days. Body removed from execution ground. Transport to undisclosed location. Burial in unmarked grave. Location classified. State secret designation prevents public knowledge, prevents Nazi sympathizers from creating shrine, prevents martyrdom narrative. The body goes into Dutch soil somewhere. The coordinates locked, the records sealed, his name inscribed on family grave in Graz, but body not present. Symbolic marker only. The actual remains, location unknown to public, known to Dutch government, never disclosed. Policy maintained for all Nazi war criminals executed in Netherlands. 7 men total at Walsdorfer Vlakte after war, all buried in secret locations, all graves unmarked, all coordinates classified. The state prevents veneration, the state prevents pilgrimage. The bodies disappear into bureaucratic silence, but the records remain. Trial transcripts at International Criminal Tribunal archives, deportation data at Anne Frank House Historical Database, execution orders in Dutch National Archives, survivor testimony in Holocaust documentation centers, the film footage of his trial, the documented death toll, 110,000 Jews deported from Netherlands, 6,000 survived, the other 104,000 murdered in camps, Auschwitz, Sobibor, Bergen-Belsen, Theresienstadt, Mauthausen. The trains left from Westerbork transit camp under coordination. Rauter oversaw. His responsibility as higher SS and police leader, his signature on implementation documents, 759 dead at Scheveningen prison and Walsdorfer Vlakte execution ground he created, 263 dead in Westerhove reprisal he ordered while wounded in hospital bed, 300,000 Dutch forced laborers sent to Germany. 30,000 of those died. His authority, his chain of command, his implementation, the numbers compiled, the evidence presented, the verdict delivered, the sentence carried out, March 25, 1949, early morning, Walsdorfer Vlakte clearing, 1 man standing, firing squad raises rifles, blindfold thrown aside, the command given by condemned man himself, the shots fired, the body falls, the 4th year, 20th day of post-war justice. The execution grounds created by Nazi occupation now serve to execute Nazi criminals. The same sand, the same dunes, the same clearing. Different math. Not 10 Dutch for 1 German, not 3 Dutch for 1 collaborator. 1 Nazi for 110,000 deportations. 1 execution for 759 political prisoner deaths. 1 dawn for 263 Westerhove victims. The ratios don't balance, can't balance, but the sentence executes. The mechanism completes. The final hours end, his last documented words, fire. His last documented action, giving his own execution order. His last location, Walsdorfer Vlakte Dunes. His burial, classified. His legacy, documented in trial records. Deportation statistics, execution orders, survivor testimony. And the empty graves of 104,000 Dutch Jews. The man who built the machinery of terror in occupied Netherlands. The man who coordinated deportations, authorized mass executions, instituted reprisal systems, created political prisoner infrastructure, and survived an assassination attempt to order the largest mass execution in Netherlands' wartime history. That man stood in dunes at dawn, March 25, 1949, threw off his blindfold, shouted the order to fire, and died 54 years and 49 days after his birth in Klagenfurt. The Walsdorfer Vlakte Memorial stands today in silent witness. Bronze crosses mark the site. The wall reads 1940 to 1945. The bell cage erected 1959 holds single large Borden bell. Text on memorial. Here many of your compatriots sacrificed their lives for your freedom. Treat this place with due respect. The place where 250 to 280 Dutch resistance members were executed during occupation. The place where 7 Dutch war criminals were executed after liberation. The place where Rauter ordered executions. The place where Rauter was executed. The ground remembers. The records document. The graves remain unmarked. But the numbers don't disappear. 110,000 deported, 6,000 returned. The difference buried across Europe in mass graves at Auschwitz, Sobibor, Bergen-Belsen. 759 buried or scattered from Scheveningen and Walsdorfer Vlakte. 263 buried at Westerhove, then reburied at Memorial Cemetery Loenen. Last person executed in Netherlands for war crimes, Arthur Albrecht, March 1952. Rauter 3 years earlier. Among 43 executed total, among 14,000 convicted, Rauter at the top, highest ranking, most responsible, most guilty, most deserving of death penalty, the machinery of terror dismantled, the architect held accountable, the numbers never forgotten, the final 24 hours, the summary of 54 years, born Austrian, became German, became Nazi, became SS, became killer, became administrator of industrial scale murder, became prisoner, became condemned, became executed, became corpse in unmarked grave, became name in historical record, became case study in war crimes justice, became testament to justice delayed but delivered. Answer to question: what happened to the architect of Dutch occupation terror? Answer: firing squad, Walsdorfer Vlakte. March 25, 1949, early morning, the same ground where his victims died, the command he gave himself, fire, the shots, the fall, the silence after, the North Sea wind across empty dunes, the medical officer's confirmation, the body removed, the location classified, the records filed, justice executed precisely as prescribed, cold, final, documented,